Welcome to the TAE Aerospace Ipswich Jets after the 80. Proudly brought to you with thanks to the Ipswich Jets Leagues Club, the heart of our community and a huge supporter of rugby league in Ipswich, and of course your Ipswich Jets. Today we'll review our first round win for our Hostplus Cup boys and look forward to the weekend coming up, which is also our TAE Aerospace Defence Force Appreciation Awareness Day. And for episode 2 we've mixed it up a bit with a bit of the old and a bit of the new. A man who needs a little introduction for those who've been in the club for many years, a 2015 BRL Premiership winning coach, which we'll talk about later, assistant cup coach Mark Bishop, and one of our newest Jets who debuted on the weekend, Jet number 692, Tongan International, South Sydney 5'8", and most importantly our halfback Dion.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good morning. Now, first off, Dion, your pronunciation of your surname is correct, yes? Obviously, it's spelt with the T, pronounced Teaupa.
Yeah. So, in the Tongan tradition, we pronounce our T's with a D.
Okay.
But if you say Teaupa, then that's fine. Still good. Yeah.
Okay. Well, for everybody that's watching this from clubs across the state, they all know now how to say your name, mate. But let's start with you. You're obviously on the field for the majority of the game. How did it play out for you, and what was the feeling in the sheds and during the game as the game wore
on? Before the game we had a very good game plan set throughout the week, and we kind of just focused on sticking to that process, and we trusted in what our coaching staff built for us throughout the week, and was fortunate enough to come home with the win, sticking to that game plan.
You had a standout performance. You successfully converted 5 goals. What's your approach to goal kicking, not just in that game, but I mean, just generally, for anybody watching on here that's wanting to do what you do, what's your approach to goal kicking? And you had a couple ones there from the sidelines, which were tough ones to convert. What's your approach?
I think it's sort of similar with any skill you want to practice in life. It's just repetition. The more you practice, the better you become, repetition after repetition, and it'll perform on the field. So I think, it just comes down to more reps and more practice.
Okay. Bisho, over to you. The team looked pretty sharp in attack. We scored obviously 34 points. Especially as that game wore on, you probably felt there's more points than even 34 in the team during the game. What was the focus during the week, and how did that translate from offensive execution on the day?
I think during the week we do a lot of opposed stuff. We've got a good big squad, and plus Mal Meninga's still around as well, so we have a lot of oppose, which gives the boys lots of reps to get their their knowledge around how we want to play the game. And we also do a lot of unopposed, which they call ghost sets. So you're running against nobody, but it gives you the chance to make sure that you're running the right lines and blokes getting in the right spot. So we've done a fair bit of that. It's when they get under fatigue as to when you really find out. So we were good yesterday. We were real happy with our attack. Obviously there's a few drop balls and stuff like that, but that's just rust coming out after, I think it's been five weeks since the boys have had an actual physical game. So more than happy with what happened yesterday.
And following on from that, obviously, when we spoke to Ty last week, and we know, the games are won in defence. We managed to keep the Tigers to 20 on their home turf. So, what impressed you most about our defensive structure for this week, and also, to take into next weekend?
The boys kept turning up. That was one thing. Like when we always thought that last sort of 20 minutes was going to be the real period in the game where it was going to be won or lost, and if we could really hang in that last 20, we were going to be sweet. And I think that showed. There was a couple of the tries that they scored. The guys that were involved in any misses or anything like that put their hands up and said, "That was me. I could have been better here. I could have been better there." So the structure, Triggs has done a lot of work on our contact, how we want to tackle in different areas, and I think we executed that very well yesterday. Of course, there's room for improvement every week. You're going to get better and not miss tackles or get your areas right where you should have went low there and you went high, or you should have went on the ball and you went low. So that'll just improve week to week. All round we're happy with yesterday.
Okay, Dion, let's talk about a couple of your teammates on the field. First of all, Johnny Rubin. I mean, how good is he? Obviously, it took 15 minutes, and then for those that saw the game, there was a big defensive structure that kept the Tigers away, and then Johnny Rubin picks up the ball and runs 90 metres, and then just after half time, he does the same again and takes an intercept and runs again the length of the field.
Yeah.
What's it like playing with somebody of his talent, his pedigree? What's it like training with him? What's it like playing with him?
I know. I think we're pretty fortunate enough to have some talented outside backs, especially the likes of Johnny Rubin. He's got that experience that helps a lot, and kind of anything he says to us, like everyone's always listening, and what he's teaching us, we're all listening to what he's saying. But yeah, it's definitely handy having speed outside, especially as a halfback. Definitely adds a lot of attacking plays for the game. So, it's been good having him around and being a part of his journey. Now fitting in. So yeah.
Now, one of the things that TAE obviously commented on after the game was how good the Titans boys have fitted into our structure. And obviously, one of those guys that came over through Burley last year into our system was Josh Patson. Scored 2 tries in 3 minutes. I think it was yesterday. He also won Players Player, with thanks to our friends at Articulate Framing. So again, we're playing with somebody like Josh. Like, what does he bring? How does he set up his presence through the middle and set you up for the structure around the spine? Yeah,
well, I think not just him, but all the boys that came down from the Titans. They bring that passion, that energy. So the presence that they bring. Boost our confidence in the team, and full credit to Patson on the weekend. Played amazing, ran hard, and he set the tone from the start, rushing up in defence, putting a shot on, and that sets the tone for the boys throughout the game. So definitely helps having them around.
Bisho, let's talk about coaching. You've obviously worked, I think you've been with the Jets since 2010. You've certainly worked in the junior system and the local rugby league system for many years before that. So you've worked with a lot of coaches. A lot of coaches have different styles, different approaches. Either on the sideline, up in the box. TAE is a coach that likes to coach head on and look at the game from that way, and frantically talk to you on a walkie-talkie, and you're shoving walkie-talkies into people's ears through the game. What is that like? What do you see in that kind of approach that benefits a coach? I mean, you're a coach yourself. And what kind of coach is TAE? Like, is TAE as calm and collected as he seems to be, or does he have his more outspoken moments when there's drop ball and the like?
I think that's half the battle that Triggs and I have, is keeping TAE under control. He can get really excitable. Sometimes it's the walkie-talkie, I can hold it a metre away and still hear what he's saying. But he's when it comes to the moments, he's always got the right idea or bouncing off. Like Triggs has had that much experience as well, and I've been around for a little while, so we can sort of keep the lid on it a little bit. But from end on, you see our structure and their structure as well, so you can pick up the little fractions of like Dion's not going left in defence when he needs to, or Jules is not doing this, or Jules is doing that well, and you can see that from end on, so that's fine. And then my role on the sideline is just to convey those messages that TAE wants, and to make sure that the boys on the bench are ready to go, and also watching what's happening. So if they're going out to replace the left second row, they're making sure what the left second row is doing is good or bad, and keep rolling through there, or keep doing that job, or adjusting to how we need it to be. But TAE's he's knowledgeable, he's excitable, he's only young, so I think that the benefit for TAE is he can still really relate to the guys on the field, because he's still of that that younger calibre, whereas Triggs and I probably take that more experienced, if you want to say father father shoulder on and be able to tell the boys, I can pick up on their moods, and if they need a cuddle, we can give them a cuddle. If they need to kick up the bum, well, more than surely we can do that as well. And by all means, tile rip someone a new one if they need one, and when they need some praise, it's showered upon it all, everything. So I think as a unit, we've got it covered. We'll have some times during the year where we may not agree, but we'll work around it and we'll get there. And we're all on the same page and all heading in the one direction. All have our ideas. Always, we're all getting heard. So no, it's a good combination.
Mate, something that you wouldn't have picked up if you weren't at the game yesterday, even probably on the televised broadcast, is the amount of our squad that were with Ty at that end. Obviously, these are guys that either weren't picked for this week or part of the A-grade squad. There was just a whole heap of boys in polo shirts. You've been around the traps a long time. How important is that for the culture of a club where you've got players that may not have had this week as their week, but still turn up, still are there to support, likes of Dion and others, to take the field that day?
But that's what successful clubs are built on. That you've got 17 or 18 involved in the day, but you've got the group that's going to do the job for the whole year. Like I think we mentioned last year, I think Dion down at South in their New South Wales Cup, they used 56 players. So we've got a squad over there, I think, of about 38. Plus with the Malmaninga boys that'll come up, so everybody will get a chance. So I think out of the squad we've got, I could safely say 95% of those guys, we would not have a problem throwing into a cup jersey at all. The 5% are probably just a little bit young and just need a bit more exposure, a bit more experience, but if we had to, we would also be confident throwing them in. So it is important that those guys can come down and see, if they're not in that squad, where they need to lift to get there. So I did happen to look down. I kept an eye on where Ty and Trigger were standing, and I looked down and I seen all the green and white jerseys, and I thought that's just exceptional. And we scored those tries early down there, and the benefit for that was Easter in that in goal. And I think our boys might have been a few sneaky jibes in there as well. So, but that really helps when it's you get that whole club culture going, and credit to those guys that they can come and see where they need to be to make that cup, get into the cup squad, and they're also supporting their mates. So all these boys are really good mates, and they really get around each other and have fun together. And they've been training since end of November, so they're good mates, and they're just enjoying back playing footy now. I think this weekend the whole squad gets to start playing footy again, which is fantastic. Yeah,
great. Dion, obviously, to address the elephant in the room, your arm's in a sling. Obviously, you came off with about 15 minutes to go, I think. You were nursing a shoulder. We've seen you this morning in that sling. Can you perhaps tell us, what's the latest on that injury you've got?
Yeah, so it happened in a tackle. Went to dive in, break his hips, and end up hitting his hip bone. Felt to go numb a bit, looked down and tried to lift my arm, and I could feel my shoulder sort of slip back into position. So then I knew sort of popped out, and lucky enough to pop back in pretty quickly. Spoke to the physios, they reckon it's got something to do with my rotator cuff. I'll see them this afternoon and hopefully get a scan and probably go from there. But okay. All positive at the moment, so
okay.
Yeah.
We've touched on it at the very intro. Obviously, you've got at such a young age, you've got such an established career already. You're a Tongan international. You've played and trained at South Sydney, and now you're at the Jets. We obviously do our very best here to provide a real high performance culture here. From your experience with Bisho, with Ty, with Trigger, and everybody else, what's your overall interpretation of the club, and how do you see the Jets as a club that you're currently a really important part of?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say it's any different to any other club that I've been at. It's very professional here, and big credit to Bisho, Ty, Triggs, and the staff, coaching staff. I missed out on obviously pre-season, But the first week I came post Chrissy, I can see that they've already built such a great culture, and it's all about team first mentality, and to be a successful team, successful club, that's got to be the mentality. It's got to be the team first. We got to play as a team. It's a big squad, so yeah, I've enjoyed being around here. It's no different to any other club I've been. If not, it's been better here. I've enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm glad to meet everyone, and yeah, just enjoying it.
And look, one of the things that we're lucky enough with you is obviously where you're part of our administration structure. So you work with us and work with Blake in that development area. You're out to schools, you're out to clubs, and it's really important for us to have somebody of your calibre and your age, so that these kids can translate and relate to you. Yeah. So from your knowledge and how you've travelled the area, what are you seeing in the kids and the passion for rugby league in Ipswich?
I think just what you said just then is the passion that they have for rugby league. It's pretty big here, and it's exciting to see that they all want to learn and get better, and they all want to play footy and just enjoy playing footy. And I think that's the main part of, I guess, having a footy career. It starts from just having that passion to play footy and enjoying it, enjoying it with your mates. So when I go around and to some schools, and the kids always enjoying and they're eager to learn, I think that's a big part and why I enjoy doing my job. So yeah.
Excellent. Bisho, to you. Obviously next week we have the Battle of the Pathways, where we take on the other feeder clubs of the Titans, Tweed Seagulls. What are you and the coaching staff going to be concentrating on during this week?
Yeah. Us. I'm a big believer, and Ty and Triggs are much the same, that if we don't get our stuff right, it doesn't matter what they do, they're going to run over us. So it will concentrate on our defensive structures again. There'll be one or two, when we get in the video, we might adjust how we defend or how we kick or how we attack based on what team actually they put out. We'll work out where where we perceive a weakness is, where we perceive their strengths are, and go from there. And then it's just about us. It's like I said, if we drop the ball, it doesn't matter what moves we've got involved. If we keep dropping the ball, it's not going to happen. If we keep missing tackles, it doesn't matter where we run or what we do. If we keep missing tackles, they're going to score tries. So it's the big, it's 90% us and 10% them. We don't get us right, then we're in trouble.
And then last year, obviously, we were the curtain raiser at Seabus Stadium when we played Tweed last, and what was a horrendous first half. We got back to 38-12, which is when we lost that game. So what do you think will be different in 2025 to 2024?
Well, 18 different players, different coaching staff, different squad. So that last year, that's a legacy for whoever organised, whoever was involved in that. That's their legacy they've left. These boys have, I think out of the whole squad, there's half a dozen blokes that were involved, and of those half a dozen blokes, I think the players might have played, through injury, they played no footy in that last year with Gronk and Dom McAvoy and those guys like that were here, but they were always injured. So there's no pressure on this group at all to worry about what happened last year because they weren't here.
Yeah.
So it's only just look forward and we're building our legacy from now. So far their legacy is 1 from 1. So that's all they have to look at is go, we were good last week, we need to be better this week. Don't have to worry about anything after that. Is what we did last week, we need to be better at this week.
And just to finish off for the both of you, Bishop, obviously this is an important year for the Jets. It's 10 years since we won the Trust Super Cup and then won the National State Championship. But you were instrumental, of course, in winning the BRL Premiership that year. Take us back 10 years. First of all, does it seem like 10 years ago? And secondly, what was it like being involved in the club in that and being so instrumental in building the foundation of where we're up to now, 10 years on?
Mate, it feels like yesterday. I can still remember. Well, I've still got grainy memories of the celebrations, but I can remember the game. I remember game day. I remember going down to like our game day where, we smoked Wynnum and we're always in control and watch back the tapes and watch back the highlights and we had such a good side and such a good squad throughout the club and such a really good culture. Ben and Shane and Kieran and Dane Phillips, Billy McConaughey, they just roll off. Curtis Lingwadock. And then in my squad we had Chris Ash, Hayden Lipp, Benny White, the Capewells were involved. With such good players. I think from that squad in 15, we had 6 or 7 blokes go off and do NRL contracts, and look where Kurt's finished up. Joshy Cleland, if he had, a knee that was any good, he'd still be playing NRL, So it was so much fun. I still remember my favourite photo ever from that era is the mayor gave us the keys to the city and we did a ticker tape parade. I think it was about 150 people there, but still that was big, and we got a photo at the top of the mall of the whole squad, the whole coaching staff, kids and everything, and it's a ripping photo. And then somehow Paul Pasali managed to get a jet to fly over at the time we were walking down the mall. It was so good, and the boys are signing autographs and footballs. I think my young blokes have still got Josh Siege's autograph at home somewhere, and then it was such a good bunch of blokes and just everyone bought in and that feeling is around again where we've got a really good bunch of blokes. Now I'm not saying that this will be our year, but we're starting to build towards what we had, and there'd been I could think of nothing better than in 10 years time having a 10-year anniversary with these boys and a 20-year anniversary with those boys. It will be, I don't know whether my missus would like it, but it'll be good. That was, like I said, it was the best week because we played our BRL Grand Final on the Saturday, which we won. Then we got a bus from here to Wynnum to watch Queensland Cup play PNG to make the Grand Final. Then went down to Suncorp the week after, and it rained like the world was going to end before we even got there. And the game was nearly running late, and then the boys run out, and then they got all over Townsville, which was fantastic. And then the next week on the TV, I watched the Jets play, beat Newcastle, and listened to all the commentators say this football will never work. And then when you turn around 10 years later, that just about every NRL club has incorporated some sort of Jet style of football from 2015, so which is good. I've got to shut up because I'll keep talking about it 10 years ago. It was so good. It was so good.
There was a time, Bisho, when people wondered whether you could, talk or talk for long enough. Now, as I said, it's fantastic hearing your reflection on that time. And I guess the important thing is, have you got space in your trophy cabinet for 2 keys to the city, mate? Because obviously the way it's shaping up this year.
I'll just push my golf trophies over to the side and put another key in there.
That was a nice insert for your golf trophies. Dion, to finish off with you, we've talked about the past. You're very much somebody, looking towards the future. We're very lucky to know you, very well because you're very much part of our team here. You're a great kid. You're very humble. You're obviously very talented on the field, but also off the field too. Where do you see your career going? You've got so many accolades already. You're so young. Where do you see yourself proceeding in your career in footy?
I think it's still the same mindset that I've had growing up. Just like any little kid that's playing footy, it's always to play NRL. So that really hasn't changed. At this moment now, I just want to win 1 week at a time with the Jets. Hopefully make finals footy, and whatever happens from there is, history will take care of itself. But yeah, just like any little kid, it's the dream of playing footy. NRL is that's the end goal. So yeah, nothing's really changed from that.
Okay, excellent. Well, Bisho, Dion, thank you for your time this morning. That's a wrap up on this episode of After the 80 for the TAE Aerospace Ipswich Jets. Proudly brought to you with thanks to the Ipswich Jets Leagues Club. Don't forget, TAE Aerospace Defence Force Appreciation Day is this Sunday with a full day of junior and senior football. Gates open at 9 a.m. with first game at 10:20 and our Hostplus Cup game at 4 p.m. So please get behind your team as the juniors come to the end of their season and the seniors are just starting theirs. So stay tuned, make sure you like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you next time as we bring you all things Ipswich Jets. Thank you.